Welcome back to the quarterly call. All content is for informational purposes and is not investment advice. Please consult with an investment professional. All right, so Accenture, the global consulting company, just put out their first quarter 2025 earnings report, and it's really quite interesting. Gives you a lot to think about in terms of where things are headed. It's interesting because their revenue actually ended up exceeding expectations by about $240 million above what they had predicted.
Yeah, it seems like even with all this economic uncertainty that we're facing, businesses are still really prioritizing all this digital transformation.
Right. And it looks like they're looking to Accenture to really lead the way forward.
Absolutely.
And some of the big themes that are emerging from the report, we're seeing a lot about large-scale transformations still.
Yeah.
Cloud computing is obviously huge. And then this rise of generative AI and just kind of the constant need for talent and security as things evolve.
And it really seems like these aren't just trends anymore. They're really becoming core business strategies, right? Companies are investing a lot of money in these areas because they see them as absolutely essential for future success.
Definitely, yeah. So let's look at Accenture's performance first, just in this past quarter. They had 8% revenue growth in local currency, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think that really kind of shows that clients are willing to invest in this digital future, even with all this uncertainty. So it really underscores the trust that these clients have in Accenture as a partner to really navigate these complex transformations.
For sure. And speaking of investments, their new bookings totaled, get this, $18.7 billion,
Wow.
with 30 clients signing deals worth over $100 million each.
That's pretty remarkable. That's a clear sign that companies aren't just testing the waters. They're diving headfirst into these digital transformation projects.
Yeah, it looks like generative AI is a big part of this too. And for anyone who is not familiar with generative AI, it refers to these AI systems that can create new content, like text, code, images. Accenture reported $1.2 billion in Gen AI bookings just this past quarter, which generated around $500 million in revenue.
This is a really big moment, I think. We're seeing Gen AI move beyond just hype and into driving real revenue.
It's becoming tangible. And to really support this Gen AI push, they're investing heavily in their workforce too. So they've expanded their data and AI team to almost 69,000 employees, and they're looking to hit 80,000 by the fiscal year 2026. That's a lot of people focused on AI.
That's a big investment, and it reflects the fact that there's just this huge demand for AI expertise.
Right. Everybody needs it.
Yeah, companies really need people that are skilled at developing, implementing, and managing these AI systems.
And Accenture is looking to be a leader in that.
Yeah.
But it is interesting, though, while we're seeing these huge deals go through, smaller deals seem to be facing more scrutiny. Like, clients are being much more careful about their spending, which makes sense given the current economic climate.
Yeah, it's a complex landscape right now with all these factors like interest rates and inflation that are really impacting these decisions that companies are making.
It's a lot to juggle.
It is. So companies are having to be more selective and really focus on investments that offer clear returns and align with their long-term goals.
Okay, so now that we've looked at the big picture, let's dive into some of the specifics about what Accenture is actually doing for their clients.
Let's get into the details and look at some real-world examples.
Exactly. So they highlight some pretty cool projects this quarter, like their partnership with the U.S. Air Force on a cloud modernization initiative. They're helping the Air Force build a multi-cloud ecosystem, which basically means using services from different cloud providers to create a more robust and secure infrastructure.
That's a great approach because it provides more flexibility and resilience. It's kind of like diversifying your investments, but for cloud computing.
Yeah, not putting all your eggs in one basket, right?
Exactly.
Another really interesting example is their work with this company called BCC iCrea Group, which is Italy's largest cooperative banking group, so it's a big deal. And Accenture is helping them modernize all their IT platforms, move to the cloud, and really embrace all this advanced analytics and AI.
It's digital reinvention at scale. They're consolidating data, building this integrated cloud platform, and in the end, it will allow them to be much more efficient, streamline their operations, and really enhance their security.
Right, they can be much more competitive.
Exactly.
They're also working with PMA India to revamp their entire supply chain and distribution network. So they're actually using AI to optimize everything from warehouse layouts to delivery routes.
That's interesting.
And the projected results are pretty amazing. We're talking faster deliveries, lower costs, and a more sustainable supply chain.
Yeah, this really highlights how important speed and agility are in today's business world.
Especially retail, right?
Absolutely.
Because customers want their stuff fast.
They want it now.
And it's not just about the speed and efficiency either. They're incorporating sustainable practices into the supply chain, which really demonstrates their commitment to ESG goals.
Yeah, ESG considerations are becoming so important for businesses these days. It's driven by consumer demand and regulatory pressures.
Okay, now let's talk about security, which is always a big concern, especially with all these digital transformations happening.
Security is essential. You can't have a successful digital transformation without having a solid security foundation.
Right, and Accenture's growth in this area really shows that clients trust them. They trust their expertise. They're helping companies build much more secure systems, protect all their data, and mitigate risks in this increasingly complex threat landscape that we're in.
And it's not just about technology, it's about the people and processes too.
Right, got to have those as well.
Absolutely. Companies need to educate their employees about security best practices and make sure they're developing robust security policies.
For sure. And they also highlighted their work in talent development, which is critical in this rapidly evolving technological landscape that we're in.
Right. Let's talk about their work with S&P Global.
Yeah, so they're actually partnering with S&P Global to train nearly 40,000 employees in Gen AI using their LearnVantage program.
That's huge.
Yeah, this program provides tailored content to really help these employees develop the skills they need to thrive in this AI world that we're heading into.
It's a massive undertaking, but it's so important to help employees adapt to these new technologies.
Right, it's all about upskilling.
Exactly.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, from their financial performance to all these specific projects, and it's clear that Accenture is playing a key role in shaping the future.
Absolutely.
But I'm curious, what do you see as the key takeaways for people listening to this? What should they be thinking about?
Well, the biggest takeaway for me is that digital transformation is no longer optional. It's essential for businesses of all sizes and industries.
It's something everybody has to figure out.
Yeah, and it's not about implementing technology just for the sake of technology. It's about using it to solve real business problems, create new opportunities, and get a competitive advantage.
Right. It's got to have a purpose.
Exactly. It requires a strategic approach, a commitment to constant learning, and a willingness to adapt because this environment is constantly changing.
So it's really cool to see how Accenture is actually applying all these, broader trends to very specific challenges that their clients are facing.
Yeah, these examples really kind of bring their work to life
Absolutely.
and show how they're tailoring their expertise to different industries and needs.
Right. Like, remember that partnership with the U.S. Air Force and that whole multi-cloud ecosystem that we were talking about? It's not just about upgrading their technology, right? It's really about transforming how they operate at a fundamental level.
Yeah, this new system is going to allow the Air Force to integrate all these cutting-edge tools and technologies much more quickly so they can stay ahead of the game when it comes to security.
It's a smart move, and it gives them the agility and flexibility they need to adapt to whatever comes their way in the future.
Exactly. And speaking of agility, their work with BCC ICREO Group is another great example, right? We were talking about over 100 banks.
It's a huge project.
It is a massive undertaking, yeah, modernizing their IT platforms and embracing the cloud.
It's like digital reinvention, but on a massive scale.
Exactly, and it's not just about the technology, right? They're also focused on upskilling the employees at BCC ICREO Group so they can actually use all these new capabilities. It's really a holistic approach that addresses the tech side, but also the people side of things.
Yeah, got to have both, right? It seems like they're emphasizing that human element a lot throughout their work. Like, they also talked about their partnership with POME India, where they're helping them create a more efficient and sustainable supply chain.
That one was really interesting to me because it really just emphasizes the importance of speed and agility in the retail world.
We've got to have it.
You do. Customers want their stuff fast.
Right now? Yesterday.
Exactly.
So Accenture is actually using AI to identify optimal locations for all these fulfillment centers, simulate different warehouse layouts to see what's most efficient, all kinds of things.
And the results are pretty incredible. They're projecting a 70% reduction in delivery time.
Wow, that's huge.
It is. They're also looking at doubling their express deliveries and a 10% decrease in supply chain costs overall.
So not only faster, but also cheaper.
Yeah, exactly. And don't forget the sustainable aspect.
You can't forget that.
Things like solar power and EV charging stations.
Showing that commitment to ESG.
Absolutely.
So let's shift gears for a minute and talk about Accenture Song, which is their creative and marketing arm.
Okay, yeah.
They're seeing significant growth, which I think really demonstrates how important it is to combine creative thinking with data technology these days.
Yeah, it's all about integrating those different areas of expertise.
Absolutely. And they talked about their work with Spotify, which is a great example. They helped them optimize their advertising business by streamlining all those workflows and getting campaigns out the door faster.
It's about letting each company focus on what they do best.
Right. Play to your strengths.
Exactly. Spotify can make amazing music experiences, and Accenture Song handles the complexities of advertising.
Makes sense. They also talked about their work with CaixaBank, which is a big financial group in Spain, where they're using AI and Gen AI to improve both the customer experience and the employee experience.
They've created all kinds of things like chatbots for faster customer service, employee assistant tools to make information more easily accessible, even AI-powered claims processing solutions that are way more accurate and speedy.
Yeah, AI is really transforming those everyday tasks.
It is, and another really interesting partnership that caught my eye was their work with Vale, which is a Brazilian mining company.
Oh, yeah. What are they doing with them?
They're actually using Gen AI to help Vale become more sustainable.
Interesting. How are they doing that?
So they've built this platform that scans all these environmental studies and application materials to make sure they're complying with regulations.
That sounds super useful, especially in an industry like mining.
It is. It helps them accelerate their sustainability initiatives while also being more efficient.
So it's a win-win.
Absolutely.
And another example that really shows Accenture's global reach is their collaboration with Indosat, which is a big telecom company in Indonesia. They're launching the country's first sovereign AI cloud platform.
That's a huge deal for Indonesia.
It is. They want to become a digitally empowered nation, and Accenture's AI refinery platform is helping them get there.
It's all about making AI more accessible to businesses of all sizes so they can benefit from this technology.
It's like democratizing AI, right?
Yeah.
So we've seen all these different examples, and it's clear that Accenture is not just, chasing after the latest trends. They're really building deep expertise in so many different areas.
They're positioning themselves as the partner of choice for businesses that want to take on digital transformation, no matter what industry they're in or where they are in the world.
It's a really smart strategy in
Right.
a world that's becoming increasingly uncertain and complex.
For sure. And let's not forget about the talent landscape. That's another key part of their story.
Right, they're investing a lot in their people.
Yes, that work with S&P Global, training all those employees in Gen AI, really shows their commitment to talent development.
It's huge investment,
Yeah.
but it also shows that they get it.
Mhm.
They understand that AI is the future,
Mm-hmm.
and they're preparing their people for it.
It's not just about teaching people how to use tools, it's about building a culture of AI fluency.
Right, making sure that everybody understands how AI can impact their work.
Exactly. And their LearnVantage program is a big part of that.
And what's interesting is they're also using LearnVantage internally to train their own workforce,
Yeah, they're practicing what they preach.
leading by example. Now, let's talk about acquisitions, which is another big part of their growth strategy.
Okay, yeah, Accenture is known for making smart acquisitions.
Right, this quarter they acquired Award Solutions, which really boosts their learning offerings, especially for the telecom industry.
That's a strategic move. Telecom's changing so quickly these days.
Got to stay ahead of the curve.
Yeah, and they also acquired this company called Consys.Health, which is a healthcare management consultancy in Germany.
So they're expanding their healthcare expertise.
Absolutely. And they also made a couple of smaller acquisitions that are really interesting. They acquired Camelot, which is an SAP-focused consulting firm in Germany that specializes in supply chain data. And they also picked up Joshua Tree Group, which is a US-based supply chain consulting firm.
So they're really beefing up their supply chain capabilities.
Yeah, they're building this comprehensive set of services to help companies optimize their supply chains from start to finish.
Like putting together a puzzle, right?
Well, that's a great way to put it.
So we've covered a lot of ground here. We've looked at all these key themes from Accenture's earnings report, their strategy, all of it.
We've talked about their financial performance, their acquisitions, their commitment to talent, a lot of information.
It's clear that Accenture's not just reacting to change, they're actually driving it.
They are, and they're doing it with this global perspective, a deep understanding of technology, and a strong commitment to their clients and employees.
So it seems like Accenture is really setting themselves up to be this trusted guide for businesses, helping them navigate all this complexity around digital transformation and getting ready for what's next.
Yeah, they're not just trying to sell technology, they're selling that expertise and insight and a vision for the future.
And we've seen from all those examples that they're getting real results across a whole bunch of different industries and challenges that businesses face.
It's clear they're not just happy being another technology provider. They want to be a real strategic partner, a thought leader shaping the future of business alongside their clients.
So we've really broken down this earnings report, looked at their strategy, and thought about what it means for different businesses. What are some of the things that stand out to you? What should our listeners be taking away from all this?
I think if we had to boil it all down to one big takeaway, it's that digital transformation isn't a choice anymore. It's a necessity for any business that wants to stay competitive and really thrive in the long run.
And there's no one right way to do it. It's got to be strategic. You have to be open to new technologies, and you have to commit to learning and adapting all the time.
The companies that are going to win in this new world are the ones that are agile, innovative, and really focused on their customers.
Customer-centric, for sure.
They're the ones who are investing in their people, building strong partnerships, and embracing things like data and AI.
Yeah, and it's a lot to think about, but it's also pretty exciting. We're living in a time where technology is changing everything.
Absolutely. It's changing how we live, how we work, how we interact with the world.
And in the middle of all this change, we can't forget about the human side of things. Technology is a powerful tool, but it's people who are driving innovation, making those decisions, creating value.
That's so important.
So I guess as you're thinking about what all this means for you and your business or your career even, what I'd encourage you to think about is how can you use technology to improve your skills, create more value, and have a positive impact?
Those are great questions to ask.
I think the answers can lead you down a really interesting path, one that leads to growth and fulfillment and success.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Quarterly Call. For more episodes, please remember to rate and follow our show. Until next time, stay curious and stay informed.